I think it's fair to say that the Dalek stories of the Moffat era have a less than favourable reputation, as this era was much more focused on Cybermen, the Master, and new threats like the Silence, and Daleks were apparently put on the back burner. However, there are plenty of great Dalek moments sprinkled throughout the Moffat era, some of which take place in episodes that aren't even Dalek-centric narratives. While he didn't have much of a clear direction for the Daleks in his era, Moffat did try experimenting with some interesting ideas for the Daleks. Not all of them worked, but at least he tried. In this video, we'll be looking at my top 5 favourite Dalek scenes from the Steven Moffat era of Doctor Who. Number 1. The Ironside Reveal from Victory of the Daleks. The initial reveal that some Daleks had survived the events of the Stolen Earth and Journey's End has to be one of the most understated moments in the Matt Smith era. Despite being very new to the role of the Doctor and to the universe of Doctor Who itself at the time, Matt Smith does a fantastic job of selling the shock, fear and loathing that the Doctor feels upon realising that, once again, his greatest enemies have survived while he has lost everything. The ominous speech from Churchill before the Ironsides are revealed says a lot about the state that Britain was in at this point in the Second World War, and it is feasible that they would seize an opportunity like the Daleks if it meant defeating the Nazis. After a great little sequence of the Daleks systematically wiping out a fleet of German bombers, the Dalek emerges donning its Ironside livery, a weathered Union flag and an insistence that it is a benevolent war robot designed to help Britain fight the Nazis. This fantastic moment sets up a great storyline involving the Ironside Daleks that sadly runs away with itself in the second half, but nonetheless the Ironside reveal is one of the standout Dalek moments of the Moffat era. Number 2. Oswins Fate from Asylum of the Daleks. One of the best twists in any Dalek story comes in Asylum of the Daleks, when it is revealed that Oswin, the trapped Alaska crew member who had been helping the Doctor, Amy and Rory navigate the asylum, had tragically been converted into a Dalek and had withdrawn into a fantasy to prevent herself from accepting the terrible truth. The moment where the Doctor finally realises what has happened to her is incredible. He gently asks her if everything she can see is really real, and this snowballs into her realisation that her existence of baking endless souffles and holding off the Daleks with planks of wood and orchestral music is simply a dream, and that she has in fact been unwillingly transformed into a hideous creature. The emotive music, Jenna Coleman's fantastic acting, and the haunting translation of her final words spoken in the Dalek voice is without a doubt one of the most impactful Dalek scenes in the Moffat era. Number 3. The Time War from Day of the Doctor. The next excellent Dalek scene in the Moffat era comes from the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor. This episode treated us to the first visual depiction of a battle from the Time War on screen, showcasing the full might of the Dalek war machine crushing the last Gallifreyan resistance during the fall of Arcadia, an event that the Doctor mentioned all the way back in Doomsday in Series 2. While there are those who argue that the depiction of the Time War in this episode is somewhat basic, considering the fact that the war is implied to be a temporal cosmic horror maelstrom and the battle we see in Day of the Doctor is more like a standard sci-fi war scene, bear in mind what we're seeing here is the last gasp of the Time Lord war efforts, much like how the Thals and Khaleds were reduced to using bows, arrows and bayonets at the end of their 1,000-year war in Genesis of the Daleks. The Time Lords and the Daleks had exhausted the higher forms of warfare and instead devolved into a bloody struggle. The return of the iconic Dalek theme from Series 4 enhances a fantastic showcase of the brutality of the Daleks. Their ships rain relentless fire down on fleeing civilians and scattered soldiers, smashing the last defenders of Arcadia and swarming in to pick off the survivors. Number 4. Daleks vs the Aristotle crew from Into the Dalek. Another excellent Dalek battle scene takes place in Into the Dalek, at the climax of the episode when the Daleks invade the human ship Aristotle and engage the crew in a fierce firefight. This sequence was filmed entirely using practical effects, including miniatures, pyrotechnics, precise camera timing, stunt work, and some very creative methods in order to make this battle scene work with limited resources. Peter Capaldi even visited the set on his day off, purely so he could witness the Dalek battles being filmed firsthand. And the result is a great finale to Into the Dalek, showing the human forces from the future desperately trying to hold back the Dalek assault. One of the best things about this sequence is that the Daleks don't falter. They press on through fire and war until their enemies are in full retreat, sustaining only minimal casualties in the process. Despite the minimal use of visual effects, an enclosed set, and a tight schedule, the production team managed to create a thrilling action sequence for Into the Dalek that stands out as one of the most dynamic Dalek moments in the Moffat era. Number 5. Daleks vs Movellens from the pilot. Our final memorable Dalek scene from the Moffat era doesn't even come from a Dalek story. Series 10's first episode, the pilot, features a brief but memorable sequence of the Doctor, Bill and Nardole running through a battle from the Dalek-Movellen War in the hope that the deadliest fire in the universe, the Daleks, will deal with a potentially malevolent entity that is chasing them through time and space. The return of the Movellens is a nice Easter egg for fans of the classic series, and in this context they serve their purpose in the narrative. They are shown being utterly annihilated by the Daleks to demonstrate how powerful the pilot entity is by comparison. This little sequence is more than just a fun callback. It's a great showcase of the threat that Daleks present not just to humanity but to other species in the universe. Despite not having a dedicated Dalek story, Series 10 shows us consistent examples of fan service done right, and the Dalek cameo in its opening episode is no exception. What's your favourite Dalek scene from the Steven Moffat era? Let me know in the comments below.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to
Dalek Bumps.